St. Patrick's Day. Are we celebrating the birth of St. Patrick? Is it St. Patrick's birthday today? No. It's the day on which he died. So some people wrote a cake yesterday and saying, "Happy birthday, St. Patrick." No, this is a cake that should be used for a wake. So, and that's a tradition in Ireland, that you celebrate, you commemorate really the death of a person rather than life. When we, in Northern Ireland, when there was enthusiasm to celebrate the life of Nivedita, they earmarked her death date. It's a traditional Irish thing.
Oh.
See? Yeah. So anyhow, who was St. Patrick? We don't really know. But we know there were two works that he made. One was called Confessions, and the other one was a letter that he wrote. And these are the only real authentic understanding of St. Patrick. So the other is kind of a myth built around the personality. But the most significant thing that we know for sure is he wasn't originally Irish. He came from Britain, as it was in those days. That is, when the Romans left, 411 or so, the Romans left Britain and abandoned it basically to attend to other areas, urgent areas of their empire, and leaving pretty much Britain into a kind of disorganized state. They had organized, they were very organized, and when they left, of course, they left a vacuum. Now, of course, there's evidence to say that he came from a Roman British family. That is, a family that was influenced by the Roman way of life, a British family influenced by a Roman way of life. And so we know he was in the West Coast. We're speculating Wales. And that pirates were there who came across, and they were interested in getting slaves. So when we talk about the principle of moksha, the philosophical meaning of it, we can read into it. We're all in some way enslaved, or feel enslaved. We're actually free, but we feel enslaved. So he was taken across, he was dragged away from his home, from his parents, dragged across the sea, and I think he lived in Ireland for a long time. I'll have to look it up again, but it was a number of years before he really, and during that time, he went from slavery, harsh conditions in this weather, as you know, in primitive conditions with not very good treatment. And he was then used to herd sheep and so on. But the conditions didn't change very much. He went from slavery pretty much to indenture conditions. But the slavery was slavery, by whatever name you want to call it. But it was that really that gave him a flash, similar in Christianity to St. Paul. Saul on the road of to Damascus got this great, profound revelation experience. And so it gives us all hope and comfort to say that in the midst of pain and extreme difficulties, we can find some comfort somewhere. In a kind of inner opening comes with it an inner joy as well. And so when you mentioned faith, that inner faith took place. When we say all these words about strong, true, wise, full and free and so on, we take faith for granted. That is only from a position of conviction that you're able to be these qualities. And so his faith gathered momentum to the extent that he felt bold enough to escape. And he did so. And I think it was after about 15 years, he escaped. I might be wrong on the amount of years. And went back, and then he was determined, ultimately, to gain some learning and understanding. So he became a deacon, eventually made a bishop. And he felt strongly a calling. In fact, I think he had a vision of a person, an Irish person, calling him across the sea, saying, "Please attend to us." This we know because he records it. And so he travels back. And that's not the end of his troubles, because he's opposed and enslaved several times, as I understand, or captured and imprisoned and released and so on. But eventually he wins. And I don't think he was the first Christian here, because one man alone couldn't do the whole thing. But his life runs on parallel really with St. Paul, who also went through tremendous hardships and persecutions, and really, almost single-handedly, was responsible for the spread of a new paradigm, a new religious movement in the whole of the Greco-Roman world, which has survived today through his influence in the world of, in the non-Jewish world, in other words, spreading things. Now it occurs to me we have a parallel with Swami Vivekananda, because without Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna's Neo-Vedantic ideas updating Hinduism would not also have spread to the world at large. And it's still spreading. You have to bear in mind that it took at least 400 years for Christian ideas to spread. And it took missionary endeavor and sometimes conquest to spread to the world at large. I'm not suggesting conquest, but conquest of minds is there, has to be there. Conquest of minds and hearts is the key factor. Conquest, physical conquest by conversion doesn't work. Unless there's a use, somebody gets used to it after generations and they accept it as part of their cultural religion. But religion deep down as an experience, as a direct encounter with the divine, that's something different. And so Vivekananda, who we've just studied, has the great, great gift of spreading these ideas in such a beautiful way and in such an easy and convenient way, a way that the common person can understand on the one hand, and in a way that a scientist can understand on the other, scientists of his day. And so if you study, for example, transcendental idealism, you'll see exactly what he's saying here, matches. But he goes beyond it, because the ultimate is not unknown and unknowable, it is Purusha. That bit is left out by Kant. So I think St. Patrick in his day would have been the Vivekananda of Ireland, spreading these words to here. And this is probably the single most important reason that we have to celebrate his life.